news.
Thank you very much, brother, but I'm already hip. That girl is on a mission.
I ain't no punk or nothing, man. I'm 100% man, but hey, that bitch scares the shit out of me.
She scares?
I know why, too. I think I know the deal on her.
A 2019 New York Times article by Reggie Ugwu correctly indicted Hollywood's predominantly white executive leadership for failing to recognize the cultural and, yes, even financial prospects of supporting black filmmakers who were making their way up the ladder in the early 90s. Of course, Spike Lee was the most visible and successful, but other directors like Julie Dash, Darnell Martin, and Matty Rich had their moment, but were, for various reasons, blackballed, and please excuse the unintentional pun. One actor-turned-director who'd already worked with Lee on School Days would bring along members of Lee's cast and crew for his one and only feature, a semi-forgotten but undeniably evocative, sensual, and sinister spiritual horror. The presence of writer-producer-director James Bond III's School Days co-stars Bill Nunn, Samuel L. Jackson, and Kadeem Hardison show what a tight-knit community it was during those burgeoning days of the rising indie film movement. She's Gotta Have It costume designer John Michael Reefer is along for the ride as well. But Bond's real score, and the reason Death by Temptation is not to be underestimated, is the work of the brilliant, wildly talented cinematographer and later highly in-demand director, Ernest Dickerson. Without Dickerson's hazy, dreamlike, erotic, inventive camera work and lighting techniques, Death wouldn't be nearly as effective or watchable. Likely due to budget restraints, many sections of Death play like your typical hangout movie, with likable characters ribbing one another or getting iced by bodacious babes at a bar. The plot doesn't meander, though the pacing might be a bit too relaxed. These moments of levity run concurrently with the main story of a vampiric succubus preying upon gross, horny men looking for a quick one-night stand. Cynthia Bond, no relation to the director, the temptress, or as it turns out, the temptation of the title, goes all out, and her full-blooded, unapologetically extreme performance reminded me of Carol Speed's fabulous work in William Girdler's Abby. She excels at conveying a sense of barely controlled, seething menace, which is aided by Bond's highly stylized seduction and murder set pieces. Her co-stars, including the unbelievably charming Hardison, all fall under her demonic spell, Bond III being the only one whose heritage and spirituality can combat this maleficent force. Isn't the most magnetic of stars, but that seems to be the point of his diminutive, angsty character. His work behind the camera is where he excels, especially in a cleverly concealed reveal as Hardison realizes she isn't casting a reflection in his mirror. Funny that Hardison would have another run-in with a blood-sucking fiend only 5 years later in Vampire in Brooklyn. With dialogue like,
"Now this freaky bed says to me that you are one hot-natured freakazoid that can't wait to jump my bones because you know I've got the key to your pleasures."
How can you go wrong? Especially when it's delivered by John Canada Terrell, aka Flash of Flash and the Ebony Sparks, and later the replacement lead singer for the Five Heartbeats. You know, because Eddie Kane started doing drugs and then he signed with Red and Death by Temptation, right? The misty, borderline surreal nature of the photography lends an air of calm which devolves into a nightmare of appreciably graphic mayhem. There isn't a great deal of gore on display, more than a few deaths are your standard POV attacks then cut away. But sequences like a Videodrome-like television swallowing up and then spitting out blood and guts, as well as a zombified bar scene involving all of Temptation's victims, is enough to satisfy us bloodlusters. Ultimately, this is a far better and more ambitious film than most give it credit for, and it's one of Troma's better acquisitions. Thanks for watching, you jive turkeys. Plenty more scary stuff coming up, so like and subscribe and have a happy Halloween.